say something, you say no.
Okay, you're welcome back. Time for us to delve into our second topic for today. It's all about the SDGs. Yeah, just a brief, background to this story. What are SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, like Kayode said earlier on? Now, these Sustainable Development Goals, also known as Global Goals, were adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. That's the catch, 2030. Now let's bring this back home to Nigeria. First three SDGs: end poverty in all its forms in Nigeria, end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture, and then ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all stages. And now to help us expand this a bit, I've got a number of guests in the studio here. Damilola Balogun is a co-convener, Youth Sustainability Development Conference, YSDC, as well as Durodoluwa Femi-Ajala, co-convener, Youth Sustain. You are both welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
How are we doing today?
Fine, thank you.
So I'm delighted that we have very young people in the house to discuss this. I mean, Nigeria is all about the youth, yeah? So what does the SDG mean to you? I reeled out the first three goals in Nigeria. So I'm going to be asking in a little while, where does Nigeria stand? But first, SDGs to you though.
So basically, these are sustainable development goals as it entails. They encompass economic and as well environmental and social goals that are supposed to be achieved by 2030. And before the SDGs, we had the MDGs, which is Millennium Development Goals, which expired in 2015 rather. So as at September 2015, the United Nations General Assembly agreed to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals. And if we really look at these goals touches on every aspect of our lives, and that is why they are very important.
Yes, so you talked about the MDGs.
Yes.
Did Nigeria fare well in that area? I mean, do you think Nigeria should migrate from MDG to SDG?
Thank you very much for that question. First of all, the MDGs are not as, shall I say, as wide as the SDGs. The MDGs, with respect to index reports in Nigeria, no country actually can say exactly achieved the MDGs. Okay. But the SDGs has more advantage in sense of the fact that the SDGs encompasses more goals, 17 goals now, as opposed to the MDGs, which had about 8 goals. And also the SDGs has drawn a line as for proper implementation of the achievement of these goals. And this is partnering with local governments and also private sector as playing, they will play more and major important role in achieving the SDGs, as opposed to the MDGs, which were mainly executed by the member states governments and then international bodies. So I feel like the SDGs would be something that we're going to do better with respect to sustainable development.
So let me come to you, yeah? I don't want this to be like an abstract thing, like we are talking about MDGs, SDGs. Let's bring it back home, reality. As a Nigerian, a youth, have you been impacted by all these goals from the MDGs to the SDGs?
Okay, first, like what Dami said, we talked about the MDGs and now we're in the SDGs. So for me, the SDGs are something that is a must for every country to actually achieve, and that's why we have the 2030 targets. But now bringing it back to Nigeria, how far has Nigeria fared in the SDGs? For me, I believe that Nigeria has come a long way considering where we are coming from and considering that we're still a developing state. And if you look at NGOs, CSOs, I think they've actually gone a long way to actually try to incorporate and implement the SDGs. So we have a lot of civil society, a lot of NGOs that are actually doing great work with the SDGs. They are actually running with the SDGs. We have the goal 13, we talked about climate action, we have reduced inequality with goal 10. So we have different NGOs that have actually partnered with government, with institutions to actually try within the Nigerian space, localizing the SDGs within the Nigerian space to actually push the SDGs into what is becoming now, which is why I believe from when we were at 2050, we've actually moved a little bit further, even if we still have a longer way to go. But with the collaborations with civil societies, NGOs, I think we've actually gone to an appropriate level.
Okay, so let's take it one after the other, yeah? One of the SDGs is to end poverty.
Yes.
So in 2018, the former UK Prime Minister Theresa May said Nigeria was headquartered to very many poor people. As regards poverty, do you think the government is doing enough to end poverty? I mean, this administration has said that it's going to bring out millions of Nigerians out of poverty. Do you see that happening?
First of all, I would give kudos to this current administration because they've actually laid proper guidelines as to the implementation of SDGs in Nigeria. First of all, is the creation of the Office of the Special Assistance to the President on Sustainable Development Goals when the office was created for the purpose of the SDGs. And also we have some bodies and some committees actually in the upper and lower chamber at the National Assembly. So all of these things are properly in check. So with respect to no poverty, of recent the international poverty line was increased to $1.90 actually. So that, as opposed to the time that it used to be $1.25. So I believe that this current administration or the government at hand with respect to reducing no poverty or reducing poverty or achieving no poverty in the SDGs is actually going to, I wouldn't say exactly what I have seen, but I believe that that goal, that's why it's made goal number one.
That's why it's a goal, yeah?
Yes, goal one, and then it touches across every other goals. And I believe that, yes, I would say that the government is trying in their part to ensure that they are making sure to...
You know, she's laughing. I don't know whether you beg to differ. I have a question for you, though, but do you want to react to that?
No.
Oh, you're good?
What I would say is that, yes, we still have a long way to go. Like I said, the Nigerian society, that's why, like I said before, NGOs, civil society are actually doing much work on this thing. So I don't believe it's a one size fits. So I think it's still a work in progress that we can still improve upon.
Okay, so let's talk about food security. I mean, not too long ago, Nigerian borders were closed, especially the one between Nigeria and Nigeria Republic and all of that. The government wants Nigeria to begin to eat made in Nigerian food, especially local rice, you know, and achieve food security as a whole. Are you impressed with what's happening so far?
On the border close, for one, he actually increased price on goods that were actually being imported. So he actually like raised the normal spending limit of families, average families, low-income families, things like that. That's one aspect to consider. But on the other aspect, he has to now balance the scale and look at what the Nigerian government is actually trying to do with trying to localize, making everybody to buy localized goods. But one thing I have to say is that before you actually close the borders, you actually have to make a suitable alternative for people within the country, and which is what I believe, in my opinion, the government has not suitably done. So in that respect, I believe that first of all, an alternative has to be provided, which you have the local rice, but how the standard of the local rice is not to the expectations of what people get outside the country. So that's another perspective. So I think alternatives first have to be built within the country to have food security, because food is an essence. Food is a basic amenity that everybody should be entitled to. I don't believe that just because I'm maybe I'm underprivileged, I should not have adequate food security in my own home. So all those things have to be considered when the government are taking into consideration, should the border be closed? Even if they want to close the border, I believe that they should give maybe like 3 months deadline, maybe a 3 months or 6 months.
Wild consultation.
Exactly. Yeah. During that period, that's what I believe.
Okay, so now that you said this, yeah, you're the co-convener Youth
Sustainable Development Conference.
Okay, fine. So what do you do? How do you relate with government? Do you even try to talk to government as regards these things?
Okay, now, so I'll first talk about what YSDC is about, so we can have a preview about it. So
Absolutely.
YSDC is a conference that is designed for secondary school students to actually try to incorporate they learn about the SDG goals. So now the first conference we had was this year, 2019, where we had 4 goals that we actually talked to the students about. So what the students tried to do was they looked at these goals, because most of the students had not heard about what the SDG was, because they were secondary school students, so they had not heard about what the SDG was. So we actually taught them, we prepared conference guides for them to actually learn about the SDG. Like we did 4 goals. That was climate change, renewable energy, and 2 other goals. So we did that, and from then on the students actually brought out workable resolutions for this problem. So we brought out problems from each of these goals for them to actually implement. Like, oh, they looked at this problem and tried to bring out solutions to these problems within the Nigerian space, not trying to make it international, but within what can actually work within Nigeria. So that was what YSDC is all about, and we'll be having another one this year, YSDC 2020. So that's what we try to do for secondary students, to incorporate them, because we believe that youths nowadays should actually be forward thinking, that they should actually try and look for the solutions to the problem, because where there are problems, there are obviously solutions, and that's where you can actually capitalize on to actually develop your country. You should be looking for what can I do for my country, which is what the YSD seeks to achieve, developing your country in your own space, so that once secondary school students come out from school, they're like, oh, what can I actually do? What can I actually implement? We have the science, we have the art, we have the commerce. So that field is broad, which is what the YSD seeks to achieve. And from this 2019 conference, we actually had a lot of good resolution, a lot of good things that could actually be implemented. So what we at the back end, the staff, are trying to do is that, now we're going to document all these goals that they actually try to do. The goals that they actually, not the goals, the solutions they provided, document it and present it to key stakeholders. Oh, why can't you do this way? Why can't you do that way? Public sector, private sector, which is what we're pushing for, so that everybody can be educated, and not just educated, to find suitable solutions to those problems.
This is almost all encompassing, yeah?
Yes.
So she mentioned that you guys are also interested in climate change and all of that.
Yes.
Last year was massive for youths in Nigeria and all over the world, with Greta Thunberg, spearheading the climate strike and all of that. Now, in last year in New York, President Buhari said that Nigeria is going to plant 25 million trees.
Sure.
And he said that youths are going to be at the forefront.
Yes.
Are you guys intending to catch on?
Yes, we've started already.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me about it, yeah.
Okay, so I would just like to emphasize the fact that these goals are more important for the youths, because it is 2030. These are goals to be achieved by 2030, and this boils down to the future of the youth. So despite the fact that there's been clamor for youth participation in global sustainability, global affairs, and that is what YSDC seeks to push. So planting of trees, I think there was a time we went to there's a kids beach garden. It's a Lekki.
Okay.
So what you do there is that you go there. It's not like you pay an entrance fee, but then you could just plant a tree and you name the tree after yourself. So like you go there once in a while to just check up on the tree. So stuff like that, initiatives like that are actually coming up. So I believe that if more organizations can look into this with the national government, then national, local, and then state governments, then it's possible to even plant more than 25 million trees.
Right.
Nigeria, yes.
This thing about planting of trees, trees are what helps in sustaining
The environment?
Yes, because it sinks carbon.
Yes.
So how do you relate with youths? There are lots of youths who don't even understand this thing about climate change. How do you sensitize? Do you go on social media to create awareness? How do you relate with other youths? Okay,
so first of all, we know these things, and to make sure that everyone is aware, that is why the Youth Sustainability Development Conference started. And then it is titled to catch them young. So we know that secondary school students really don't know about the SDGs, as many of them are just used to their normal mathematics and then physics, chemistry, and all of that. So we started the conference to ensure that these people know the effects of climate change and why there is a need to solve major challenges with respect to climate change. And then we had a committee which was climate change and clean waters. We saw the students, they debated on how climate change could be solved, the issue of climate change could be solved in 2030. And then I feel like first thing is for them to get educated about it. Once they're educated, they are impacted to an extent. And then the next thing is for them to just make sure that all of this knowledge, they transfer it and they actually implement in their own various community. So it's like you're planting a seed that will bring out a fruit, and then that will bring out fruits that will produce many other seeds, and then champions and everybody.
Wow,
it's fine.
Amazing. Let me talk to you about another of these goals: ensuring healthy lives. Now that brings to mind the health sector in Nigeria. I mean, the president recently just said he would rather not have Nigerians travel abroad for medical treatment, but pundits are saying, I mean, but you've been doing it and all of that. But I want to have your take though on the medical health sector in Nigeria. Have you had terrible experiences, or are you optimistic that we're going to get there?
I'm very optimistic.
Okay.
I'm a very optimistic Nigerian that Nigeria actually gets to where it needs to get to.
Okay.
But like I said, when you talked about the whole food security, I think there always has to be an alternative first.
Yeah.
You can't make something go without actually having an alternative, a backup plan. You have to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, to even plan Z, to know that what you're actually trying to push for actually goes in line with what you're actually trying to push for. So alternatives are actually very key. So before you can say, oh, Nigerians, stop traveling abroad for your medical expenses or stop doing that, you have to ensure that the health sector is actually what's the word? It's very, sorry?
Like it's
vibrant?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's also what comes to NGOs that are actually doing great work within the within the health sector, because you have a lot of NGOs, you have a lot of CSOs that are like, oh yeah, maybe my friend or my sister died due to poor health care. So they usually take that upon themselves and like, oh no, I can't have this, I can't have that. So they usually burden themselves with that problem and like, okay, if you are in this sector, if you're in that sector, or you have something relating to a particular medical disease that you don't want to be treated, oh, why don't you come to our NGO, we help you out. So I think NGOs actually play a very, 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 very vital role in achieving the SDGs, which is why we have a lot of them. I will never discourage any NGO from starting up.
And that's one of the advantage of sustainable development goals. These goals are 17 in numbers. They have about 169 targets and then 230 indicators. And they are already proper mapping as to how the international community would partner with local community of each member state to ensure that these goals are achieved.
Another thing I would also recommend is that, okay, when we are trying to actually implement these goals, you try and localize them into our local language, so people that don't understand English can understand the fact that, oh, maybe it's Yoruba, maybe it's Igbo, maybe it's Hausa. They can actually try and incorporate it into their lives and like, oh, this is actually needed in my society. This is why I have to do it, because there's a ripple effect if I don't do it, if I don't show my waste away, if I don't, maybe there are disabled people on the road, if I don't see to their needs. So all these goals are intertwined, and I don't think, if you just look at the Nigerian society on maybe an infograph or things like that, you see where all these goals relate to. They are at every point in the Nigerian system.
Amazing. Now that you just said it, it's intertwined. Let's talk about education. Yeah.
Okay.
What would you rather have thrown away? You're in school. What would you have rather thrown away, and what would you like to see sustained as part of the education sector in Nigeria right now? Taking for instance what you do in school.
Okay, so I feel like the sustainable development goals, or let me say sustainable development, should be incorporated into secondary schools and primary schools curricula. So like if they are being taught from they're young to their higher institution, it becomes part of them, and then it's a way of getting to achieve the 2030 goals. So I feel like that should be incorporated. And then we should even have more of like SDGs or in secondary school. It's just like we used to have jet clubs, we used to have press and all of that news. And so, yeah. I
also have something to add.
Yeah, and I also have something to ask you. So, okay,
so from what he was saying, I also believe that aside from the fact that we have a 2030 limit, I don't think that there should actually be a limit for all these goals, because they're actually part of our lives, part of our social and economic rights, things like that. So I even think that even if we end up achieving at the long run 2030 goals, after the 2030, what happens? We have to end up maintaining these goals, because there has to be a maintenance culture. Even if we achieve every single 17 of those goals, we have to end up maintaining it so that it doesn't just go and go back to the way it was. So I
Yeah,
don't,
you know, she just said after sustaining, what next? I'm thinking, yes.
Okay, aside the Sustainable Development Goals,
Yeah.
Agenda 2030.
So you have a few seconds now.
Okay, that was adopted by the United Nations. We also have the African Union Agenda 2063.
Yes.
So which means after 2030, we still have the African Agenda 2063, which is almost similar to that of Sustainable Development Goals. But the major theme of Agenda 2063 is that African solutions should be given to African problems.
Yes.
Beautiful. That's a safe place to land,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes, it is.
It was so nice having you guys
Thank
together.
you very
with us.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Damilola Balogun, co-convener, Youth Sustainability Development Conference, YSDC, and Durodoluwa, Femi-Ajala, co-convener. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, so we'll take a short break, and when we come back, Kaide will be joining me, and of course, sports. Stay with us.
You say something, you say no.